The notion that global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity is a concept that has gained traction in certain circles. Proponents of this idea argue that the media's emphasis on climate change and environmentalism is a subtle yet deliberate attempt to undermine Christian values and principles. At its core, this argument suggests that the media's narrative on global warming is not solely driven by scientific concerns, but rather by a broader agenda to erode the influence of Christianity in modern society. One of the primary reasons cited for this perceived war against Christianity is the media's alleged attempt to supplant traditional Christian values with a new, environmentally focused worldview. By framing climate change as a moral imperative, the media is seen as promoting a secular, humanistic perspective that rivals the spiritual and moral authority of Christianity. This, in turn, is believed to be part of a larger effort to discredit and dismantle the social and cultural institutions that have long been associated with Christian teaching. Moreover, some argue that the media's coverage of global warming often carries a distinctly anti-Christian tone, with certain outlets and commentators using the issue as a vehicle for criticizing and mocking Christian beliefs and values. For example, the notion that humans are stewards of the earth, as outlined in the biblical book of Genesis, is sometimes ridiculed or dismissed as outdated and irrelevant in the face of modern environmental concerns. This kind of rhetoric, proponents of the war on Christianity argument contend, serves to further marginalize and disenfranchise Christian voices in the public sphere. Another factor cited in support of this theory is the media's tendency to conflate environmentalism with spirituality, often invoking a kind of eco-spirituality that is seen as being in direct competition with traditional Christian spirituality. This, it is argued, represents a deliberate attempt to co-opt and redefine the language and symbolism of Christianity, replacing its core teachings with a more secular, earth-centered worldview. By doing so, the media is perceived as seeking to create a new, environmentally based moral framework that spans the authority of Christian doctrine. It is also worth noting that some Christian leaders and organizations of themselves contributed to the perception that global warming is a war against Christianity. By downplaying or denying the scientific consensus on climate change, these individuals and groups have sometimes created the impression that Christianity and environmentalism are mutually exclusive, and that to accept the reality of global warming is to reject the teachings of the Bible. This kind of rhetoric, while not necessarily representative of all Christian views on the subject, has undoubtedly contributed to the polarization and politicization of the climate change debate, and has provided fodder for those who argue that the media's coverage of the issue is motivated by an anti-Christian agenda. Ultimately, the question of whether global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity is a complex and multifaceted one, driven by a tangled web of social, cultural, and ideological factors. While it is certainly true that the media's coverage of climate change has sometimes been characterized by a confrontational, as versus them tone, it is less clear whether this represents a deliberate attempt to undermine Christian values or simply a reflection of the deepening divisions within modern society. As the debate over global warming continues to evolve and unfold, it is essential to approach the issue with nuance and sensitivity, recognizing the many different perspectives and motivations that are at play, and seeking to build bridges of understanding and cooperation between different communities and worldviews.